So knowing, knowledge comes from the Greek gnosis. That's why there's a K in ours and a G in theirs. Gnosis is different than knowing, as I understand it. Gnosis means that which cannot be taken away or removed. So things like, oh, I know there's 9 planets. Well, no, there's not anymore. Therefore, that was not a fact. That was a theory. And a lot of things that we think we know change or mutate or are proven to be untrue. So the question I often ask people is, so what do you know? If that's the definition of gnosis, what do you know?
Are you asking that right now?
I am.
Okay. The first thing that pops into my mind being is, I know I'm here right now, but I'm not only here. It's not just this level, this plane of existence. I'm also in other places.
So there's a kind of hearity. Here-ness.
Here-ness. There's a here-ness. But it's more than this physical right here, right now thing.
Okay. All right. So you know that you are experiencing displacement in a gravitational and atmospheric manner.
Okay.
At another level, you are experiencing sensory input. Mm-hmm. All right. Senses, pressure, and placement. Because if we were to go up or down, say, 100 meters, pressure would change and we would feel that. And we would feel, for us, that would feel uncomfortable. Especially the higher up you go. If you go up to about like 5,000 to 6,000 feet, you start to experience loss of oxygen. Whereas if you go down in water or even in land, you feel more pressure on you. And there's that. And we're also feeling a gravitation then as well. One gravity. And depending on how fast or slow we're going, we could experience plus or minus gravitational experiences. Okay. Anything else about here-ness?
Here-ness. The practice of mushahada came to mind, where we work to act. Well, okay, first of all, the brain typically focuses on one sense at a time. And which is why when we're looking at one thing and we hear a sound somewhere off behind us, everything goes there. What was that sound? Is it danger? Is it, does somebody want me? Whatever. So the brain doesn't typically use all of our senses at the same time. True, taste and smell are related. You inhale, you get an aroma of something, and that can enhance the flavor of whatever you're putting into your mouth as you're taking that food in or something. But what Sheikh Tanner showed us years ago was the practice of mushahada, meaning that one at a time, we focus our senses, and it's best done outdoors. Begin with sight, looking at something, focusing on it, taking it all in, and then add in our hearing while still focusing on our sight. And gradually begin to, okay, I'm seeing this and I'm hearing this, and Are there sounds that are related to what I'm looking at? And working with that. And then what do you smell? You know, is there an odor in the air? Is there a fragrance of something? Does that relate to what I'm hearing or seeing? Or is it something else that's coming in? What do I taste? Do I taste something different from what I'm smelling? The air tastes kind of salty. I'm at the beach. Yeah. And then there's the skin sensory. Maybe the breeze is blowing and it's moving our hair, and, you know, and to try to hold on to all of those at first is just impossible.
What did you call it? What's the name of this?
Mushahada. 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 Well, it comes from shahid, to witness, to bear witness. And so mushahid would be one who bears witness. And so mushahada. So it's a form of bearing witness that has this esoteric connotation to it. And it's a really interesting practice. And I realized when Sheikh Tanner was telling us about it and explaining it and having us practice it out on a beach, that I had experienced this before.
So multisensory input is a way of opening up the senses and doing the opposite. I've done workshops where I've had people blindfold and walk, and it amplifies the other senses. So because we get so stuck on being seeing, which kind of stops you tuning into the other senses. The other thing that I hear you mention is going beyond the physical senses to spiritual senses or heart sensations, things that we are capable of sensing if we open up to them. And this has been proven, you know, in hypnosis and people who experience synesthesia of cross sensing other senses. So that's an interesting. I don't remember Sheikh explaining that about mushakida, except talking about observation and pointing things out and going, well, are you experiencing this? Are you noticing this? Are you noticing that? Again, these are good practices to do as in sense of observation. In Sufism, there's a whole kind of study about observation, of which Sherlock Holmes is kind of like the pinnacle of what that's about. And the idea of what can you deduce from your observations about this person? And there's so many other observations you can make, and we filter out, they say, about 8 to 10 gigabytes of information, so it gets just down to little bits of stuff that we think we can handle, but I think we can handle a lot more if we wished. I remember sitting with Sheikh at the airport one time, and he says, tell me about that person walking by.
Oh boy.
And it's kind of like, what? And you go ahead. Making connection, doing a rabita, say, what's going on with this person? And having to do that, you have to drop your sensations, your own personal ones, and extend them out to this other and allow your other perceptions to open up to see what comes in, because everybody perceives in their own way. we don't realize that. We talk, sometimes talk about it in terms of intelligences.
Hmm.
The basic four are oral, that's listening. We understand through listening. There's visual, understanding through what we see. Analytical, understanding through taking things apart like puzzles. And kinesthetically, through movement. Whether it's valid or not, it seems to work, especially if you're interested in teaching, because as a piano teacher over decades of working with students, what I've noticed is there's usually too strong and too weak senses going on. Some kids, or adults even, don't have a visual ability, but their oral ability is way up there. And they're kinesthetic, so they can hear something and play it back right away. I don't have quite that ability. I have it. I have it through practicing listening, which is a whole other practicum. But these people who can do this through their oral are not able to read music. It's
That was
really
my
hard for
mother's
them.
younger brother.
Yeah. So what I try and do in the first couple lessons is figure out, so what are the strong, what are the weak points, and what can I do to help them strengthen the weak points through using the strong ones. This is also part of our learning to know ourselves. What's strong and weak in me, and what can I do to help strengthen my weaky points.
What about the things we ignore?
That's an ongoing education, isn't it?
And maybe we don't even realize we're choosing to ignore them, or maybe it's something in the moment that's irrelevant. Of course, we're always being told something's irrelevant that we think is important, but
Well, I think in defining what nefs are, I think part of that is ignoring certain parts of ourselves that we would rather not look at. That's kind of like, that's almost a given that everybody has that. I think what we're trying to do in Sufism is go, yeah, no.
I have a question about that. That just popped in my head. I'm wondering about the way you worded it, some things about our nafs that we'd rather not look at. There might be, I might have a bad habit or, something that I maybe don't like about myself. But I've been told and taught that, that's not okay. That's not, good to express that sense, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Let's say, I get angry about some little trifle or something like that. So I guess my first impulse is to just sort of bury it as though, well, okay, well then I guess I'm just not going to feel that way. And my question is, are there ever scenarios where that's what we should be doing? Like it would seem as though there's some things that are unimportant that maybe I shouldn't be focusing on, but at the same time, if I'm burying and ignoring it, then there's something else that I'm potentially not facing up to or working on.
Okay. If we stay present enough and we make the intention to Allah and our heart that we want to know ourselves, that we want to know Allah, and that we want to move everything out of the way so that we can be with Allah, then I think that intention begins the opening process or the filtering process to begin our education process about our own shadow side, if you will, things that we do ignore. To me, by saying, yes, I want to know who I am, the process begins specifically for you. and that when it's time for that nefs to be presented, if you will, things will occur that allow that to happen in the right time, in the right process. You can't jump and you can't pick just because you want to. The thing that's presented to you is the one that you need to work on, especially the one that goes, I don't want to do that. That's not the one I want to work on. I have a preference here. I know what I need to work on. Could you make me wealthy, please? I need to work on what that would feel like. And Allah goes, oh, I'm sorry, who's in charge here? You want to do what? No, you go ahead. Go right ahead. Let's see how that works out for you. And you go, okay. After a couple of years on that one, you go, yeah, I can see I need to back up a little bit and get a running start on some other ones so I have a foundation to work from. The process is perfect. We just tend to mess it up because we think we know what we need. Allah's going, surrender is the name of the game here. I will help you if you can stay grounded, connect with your sheikh as you need to, and we'll work through this one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
What many people say, they'll say, I want to work on the hardest one first. I've had that many times. And I go, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Because what we want to do is we want to build up success. We want to know what it feels like to overcome a simple nefs, to see what that process is like. Not only do you see how it works for you, you also learn the time it takes, the concentration it takes, the willingness and intention it takes, and the time it takes, the kind of time it takes. It's a discipline and it's a practice. And as you do that, you also gain, when you succeed in regaining that energy that had been put into maintaining that specific nefs. So by accepting, look, I'm not complete. I don't have this together. I need help. That's how we start. Then from there, you go through each one as it presents itself to you. And you can't jump ahead. You have to go through it one layer at a time. And what you find as you go through it, that what you thought was like one layer is actually multiple layers. But you can't go to the deeper layer until you pull these weeds out here, because this root's connected to this plant over there. And that's going to require a whole other tool set, which you can't get until you know what it's like to get through this one. All makes sense? So trust in the process. Your heart knows what you need. Your brain thinks it knows what it needs. And you have to learn how to divine which is which and what way you need to go. And sometimes, and that's why this is not a perfect, it's a process. It's a practice. It's something that you learn more and more as you go through. It never ends. You never get there. You get to the next layer. And you go, oh, geez, I never thought I'd have to deal with this. Okay. All right. Let's go.
I'm laughing because, oh gosh, this was maybe a dozen years ago. We pick up Sheikh and Ane at Sacramento Airport, and we're coming back up to Chico. That's at night. And Sheikh is sitting in the passenger seat. David's driving, and Ane and I are in the back seat. She and I are talking, and we hear the tone of things in the front seat change. And we stop talking. And Sheikh is saying to David, yeah, I was contemplating one day, and I suddenly felt, I got it. I got it. Oh, okay, I got it. Oh. And then a couple days later, I realized I don't got it. So I went back in. Oh, now I got it. I got it. I got it. Yeah, yeah. By the next day, I knew I don't got it. And I realized it's just going to be that way. You get it, and then there's more. Like he began saying after that, there's always more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I just remember that I got it. No, I don't got it.
that's good. Yeah. To me, when you say I got it, you know you just walked into a trap. That's the trap. And that's actually one of the Macomb levels. That's the fourth level. You think, I got it. And you think, oh, I'm going to make a business out of this. This is my shtick. I'm good at this. And that's the trap.
It is. I have found that whenever it comes to me that, oh, okay, I know how to do this. That is a trap. That sets something in my mind that closes down. And I learned this years ago. I was making two of something. And very careful with the first one, very careful. Okay, here. Turned out just right. So I go to start the second one, and my brain says, I know what I'm doing now. And I made mistake after mistake, stupid little mistakes that had to be taken apart and redone. Oh.
Boy, there's some crafts and arts where you can't get away with a mistake. You know it. You know it, and it shows it, and it's kind of like, you see? Rather than, because in our mind, we've kind of erased it. That did not happen. I am fine. Everything is perfect. And it's kind of like, no, it's not. It is not. It's not what it should be. But again, with the pianos, if I'm recording the lesson and we get into an argument, I did not play that wrong. I said, I will play this back. What do you hear? I played it wrong. No subtracting reality here.
Do you, by any chance, this digresses, but do you know Latif Bulat?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I know him for many, many years.
That's a long time ago. Wow.
He's a wonderful musician. Wonderful singer, wonderful singer and musician. Yeah. So we were someplace, and he had played this one. It was an old Persian classical piece, and somewhere in there he hit a wrong note and corrected himself. Right, stopped, did the little phrase over again, went on. The next night he played the same thing, and he hit the same wrong note. And later someone was saying, oh, Latif, he's such a perfectionist that he always makes the same mistake.
That's pretty good.
Oh.
I want to go back to what we started on, which is what you know and what you don't know and what the difference is. So my question going back was, so what do you know? That is, what cannot be taken away from you that remains as a kind of visceral and entire the whole mind, that's everything, knows and cannot be removed.
Allah.
Good. Yay.
What came to me visually and mentally as well was the Prophet Yusuf. Joseph the knowing he had when he was in the well, left in the well, and then later when he was in prison for years. And that knowing was always there with him. That was always there in him, from what we know of his situation and his behavior during that time.
Yeah. And that to me, that's one of the guiding prophets for me regarding, does Allah know I'm here? Does Allah know what's going on here? If that's the case, I have nothing to worry about.
Right.
If I imagine that Allah has left the room, if you will, and I am on my own and I don't know what's going on, I will certainly freak out. Absolutely. Because what am I doing here? What's the point? And I think this is where disconnect and depression kick in. When you don't think anybody cares about you and you don't know the reason why you're in this situation.
Yep.
But then I go back to this idea about Joseph in prison for 12 years. And he knows why he's there. He knows I have a job to do here. And Sheikh Tanner talked about Alibaba going through the same thing. Did he ever tell you that one about his sheikh tells him, I want you to go to this little town and give the message about Sufism? And he goes, he doesn't have a ticket, he doesn't have any money. He's waiting at the train station, somebody gives him money for the ticket, he gets on, and he gets there, and he's arrested for vagrancy, and he's put into the prison, and they're asking him, so what are you doing here? He says, I'm supposed to be teaching Sufism. He said, well, what's that? And then he's doing the teaching.
He had him go back again, and he got arrested again. And
yes.
Then they kicked him out of prison because they didn't want him teaching Sufism there.
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
It's in What About My Wood?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So where we are is where Allah wants us to be. It's our job to accept it. That's surrender. So there's Allah. How about you? Anything you know?
That's interesting because I was going through what do I know, and then I was like, okay, well, it's sort of like a variation on what Rosie was saying. Well, I'm here, but then I was like, but what if that's like not true in the truest sense? And then I was like, well, what if Allah takes it away? And the whole time I'm like, and I guess in the background it's Allah, but Allah has control over everything. But I was like coming up with all these other sort of I don't know how to put it. So, anyways, I would tend to agree with what Rosie said. It's Allah.
Okay. I know, besides that Allah is taking care of me and that love is what holds everything together, is I love my son and my granddaughter. That cannot be taken away. That's unconditional. There's no stuff that it's dependent on. That's part of me. And I feel so happy when I'm with my family and feel everything's okay. It's good. So I think who and what we love is part of that knowing, that kind of knowing, the one that cannot be removed or taken away. It can be expand and contract, of course, but that's not, it isn't anything but that's love. So what else? That's about it for me. I know I'm stupid. I know I make lots of mistakes. And I know that I'm here to learn, slow as I am, and to grow.
I know I'm stupid because my sheikh always told me so.
Duh, that does not go away. What are you, stupid? Yes, Sheikh. Errol, have pity on me. Let's see, that's good. We went through different kind of sensing of being here, and being here is a kind of knowing when we are here. I think though that with our nefs, we do tend to let's call it migrate to the past and future, which are not here. They're skull stuff, the black box. We don't know what's going on. We're not here then. I know when I'm breathing and when I'm aware of my breath, I am more here than when I'm not. You probably feel a kind of here-ness when you're doing your sewing and calligraphy.
Oh, sewing is really something that is ingrained in me, I will say. In this life, in this body, it's a skill I learned at a very, very early age. And I was standing next to my mother when she was making matching skirts for us. And the phone rang, and the phone was in another room. She got up and went to answer the phone. And I just moved over. I was 3 years old. And so she stopped right in the middle of a long side seam on the skirt. And I just put my foot on the pedal and kept going. She walked back in the room and went, thinking I was going to run over my fingers with the needle. And then she just stopped and let me finish the seam. And it came straight down. And that was when I started sewing.
That's so cool.
And having it be something I know, when I was first living in Turkey and I needed to make some curtains for my apartment, big windows, and I needed curtains. And I bought a very simple sewing machine and fabric, and I was making curtains. And after being there for several months, finally, after being in this environment where, language and customs and how things were done and what you could buy in the grocery stores and how you find things, finally I knew there was something I knew how to do. I could sew a straight seam. I could do that. So, yeah. And then I worked as a commercial seamstress for almost 20 years.
Hmm.
A what seamstress?
Commercial.
Oh, okay.
Repaired sewing machines.
Wow.
You
So
repaired
sewing,
machines?
big factor.
Wow. Those are complicated. I mean, there's a lot of parts that are all moving.
Yeah, I have a really aversion to electronics, but when I can see something, then I'm good.
I think in talking about going back to the intelligences, I have a few that I like to add. One is geometric,
Oh,
spatial.
yes.
I think those kind of people who come into a room going, that couch is in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the right. What do you mean? It's couching. It's doing its thing. No, it needs to be over here. Then you put the lamp over here, and you put this here, and then it'll be nice. Some people know how to get that right feeling, shaping things. Maybe on a planar, that's planar, Planar, planar
Yes.
field. You have billiards and snooker, who can see three-dimensionally and a little bit on the physics part of energy. That's very cool. So I think that's another one. Another one is people talk emotional intelligence. I have no clue what that is, but I understand.
Yeah, it comes up in news feeds a lot, emotional intelligence and people who have emotional intelligence and kind of like, I think
Yeah,
that goes back to observation and
yeah.
keying in and, hopefully responding to something appropriately.
And I think there's a kind of machine intelligence
Hmm.
where you're kind of like a machine whisperer. Like what you're doing with the sewing machines, or a car mechanic,
Oh,
who's who can hear that it needs tuning and there's the third valve needs replacing.
yep. That's why we had the Idiot's Guide to Volkswagens.
Yep, yep. And I think there's also textural intelligence, that some people have to wear a certain kind of fabric that feels right for them. And then they go into wardrobe, costuming and things. I don't know. So this is knowing, is in this case is also knowing about yourself and what your strong and weak points are. Those aren't going to go away. Those can change. The strong ones are probably going to stay the same, but the weak ones are one that you can improve, and it's a good way to know yourself. Is to know, well, what am I good at and what am I really weak at. Those are my thoughts on knowing and gnosis. Anything you want to add?
Um, well, I mean, it seems obvious now, but maybe it's sort of a follow-up question. You said one definition of gnosis is something that can't be taken away, and then my sort of follow-up question would be, well, how do I know when something can't be taken away?
Mm.
So, I mean, at least to me, what comes up is, well, I know that in my heart, and so then there's this like aspect to knowledge where it's complete, like from the heart, like every way that I could know it is complete. Sort of. That does that make sense?
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Yes, it's all about the heart. That the and this is something that actually that's been coming out for me lately, is how we have to change what the bottom line is in the next run out of culture and social democracy. The idea of, it's not the bottom line of money that's important, it's the feeling of contentment and happiness, or equity, as an important part of knowing. It's a little trickier. So yeah, does that make sense?
I'm thinking about that. Equity is part of knowing.
Actually, this kind of goes back to your big one about fairness,
Mm.
Mm.
in the idea of like, this is a really, the cultures that we live in are very unfair. They're based on unfairness because we come from feudal monarchies, which are caste systems. And I think we find it really difficult to let go of those ideas. That and capital Darwinism.
Mm.
I like that. Little Darwinism. Oh. Yeah, the word hierarchy popped in. That there's, wherever you are, whatever's going on, there's almost always a sense of hierarchy, even if it isn't expressed. and kind of like those unwritten rules about how to behave and show deference. I mean, even our two cats. Now the younger one, who's still full of vim and vigor and and energy and wanting to play, and the elder one, who's like, leave me alone. And the younger one skirts around him, just don't want to upset the elder. And so, but I was also thinking of how people, when you talk about equity, it's social equity. There are those who hoard knowledge, like, well, I'll teach you this, but I don't want to teach you something else because then you might take my job. And, or I've got this position of importance. And so if I divulge everything I've learned, then I won't be important anymore.
So yeah, that's still our feudal system. That's to me, I'm hearing guilds.
Mm-hmm.
And working your way up from journeyman to apprentice.
But it had to do with withholding a more complete understanding of something, like teaching 3/4 of something and then withholding the rest of it so that other person can't grab the whole thing. And somebody was saying, I know they're not explaining everything to me, and it's frustrating because I know there's more to it and they know it and I can't. So anyway, when we talk about equality, equanimity, equity, there again, so many levels, so many dimensions of that.
All right, I just want to go back to what you were saying about that withholding.
Mm-hmm.
There's a teaching technique that brings the student to a certain level so that the student can take the next step themselves. If they don't, they won't own it and they won't value it. They won't see it. So that's actually an important technique.
Mm-hmm.
If it's being used in a power play, then no, that's not right.
And I think a lot of people do experience this in a power play. But it is a really great teaching technique because then the student has to think and ferret things out a bit and feel it and get into it for themselves.
That's what tests are for. As a matter of fact, just going on the guilds, you become master when you complete the apprentice's final, which is to do whatever you're supposed to be constructing or making is your master's degree.
Yes, your masterpiece.
To me, all that's important, but anything can be a weapon.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
So depending on the intention of how you're using it and why you're using it is all part of that. Mm-hmm. That's also kind of knowing what is the purpose of what's going on in this relationship or this discussion or any of these things. Am I being manipulated? Am I being used, or am I having a free and open conversation here? Am I learning? Yeah. Part of our assessment of being here. And seen. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawm al-Din. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Salaam Alaykum, murids, seekers, curious, and interested listeners. We appreciate you and are happy to share our Sufi message. Your donation will help support our Sufi Center in Sydney, where we do zikr, sohbet, spiritual counseling, and healing services. We believe the message should be free, but it costs equipment, rental, services, software, and hardware to get this to you. So thank you for choosing our podcast among all the millions available. If you go to our website, ansarisufiorder.org, you will be able to donate through PayPal whatever you think this information is worth to you. Blessings and love, the Australian Ansari Sufi Order.